Guilt and regret don't have to destroy you, they can fuel you. Hey everyone, my name is Sean Howard, and welcome to Perspective Based Recovery, where I show you some tips and tricks that help me get sober and help me stay sober. Today we're starting this series with one of the major reasons I stayed in active addiction for over 10 years guilt and regret. As addiction takes its toll on our choices and actions, we tend to wind up in situations and do things we never thought ourselves capable of outside of addiction. And those actions can leave lasting scars in our memory and drive us deeper into the hole that we find ourselves in. I remember waking up almost every morning after blacking out with no memory of the night before, cringing at what I did last night and waiting for a text or a call to tell me what awful things I said or did. I would almost always be reaching for a nearby bottle or a half-finished beer to smooth the edges of a hangover and prepare myself for the worst. Oftentimes I would hear something I said from someone and think, I would never say that. That can't be true, can it? And I would stop socializing with the person that I hurt, unable to deal with the guilt of having hurt them and regretting my actions. A major point of regret for me was when I screamed at and attempted to fight my father, who was my last remaining ally when I was drinking. I came home from the bar, already blackout drunk before it was 4 p.m., got into a heated verbal debate with him and tried to throw punches. My father easily put me in my place and allowed me to stay the night to sleep it off. The next morning, he told me that he couldn't continue to live this way and asked me to grab my things and leave the house where I had been staying for the last few years. And I did. My actions that day haunted me, alongside the plethora of other memories that darkened my days for a long time. The regret and guilt fueling my desire to drink it all away. Regret is an internal sign that you want something better, or should have made a better choice in a given situation. It's a mental exercise in making better choices in the future, and can often weigh on our minds like a constant dark cloud. When I first stopped drinking and using drugs, the hardest part was sitting with my regret and accepting it as a part of my past so that I could move forward from it. For many years, I could not forgive myself for my actions. I changed my first stages of sobriety into a sort of self-penance that I needed to undertake in order to pay back my years as a tornado through people's lives. And that worked for a while, but eventually I learned to use the regret as fuel for my sobriety. When I look at regret now, it doesn't feel the same as when it did when I was in active addiction. It feels more like looking at a stranger through a glass window. The things that weighed me down are now lessons for me to keep going forward. I learned to use my regret and guilt as they were intended to be used, to help drive my decision-making and guide my choices going forward. The memories still come to me in sleep, in dreams, and as I go about my day. But now I let them play out and remember that these are the actions of someone who was lost and confused, of someone I no longer wish to be. And I remind myself that these memories are reminders to stay sober, to keep doing better for myself and those around me. I remember when I was in rehab and during a lecture, we were asked, "What is your higher power?" And I said, "Harrison Ford." When my teacher asked me why this was, I explained that my past is like a museum or an art gallery. My memories hang on the walls or sit behind glass cases where I'm able to see them, but not take them out with me. And Harrison reminds me that it belongs in a museum. That got a pretty good laugh out of the room. But in a way, I was serious. Maybe not about Harrison Ford, but about the way I view my past as a place I can visit, but I'd never want to live there. You can reframe your mistakes as lessons, your guilt as motivation to do better, and regret as a reminder to choose your actions with care, and then life begins to open up to you again. Try setting a mental reminder when guilt and regret take hold in your mind, when you begin spinning downward. Mine is a kind of mantra that I say out loud, and I even have tattooed on my arm as a reminder constantly within reach. Remember who you are. I think on all that I've overcome and the good things that I've achieved since I got sober and how it's helped me find myself again. Yours can be whatever works for you. I have a few examples. This has already happened. It can't hurt me anymore. I'm making sure this never happens again. I will be better than who I was yesterday. Reframing guilt and regret takes time and practice, and I know everyone has different kinds of guilt that these exercises may not be enough to help you overcome, but I urge you to try. When we change our outlook on the past, we can move forward from it with grace and integrity. Set small goals for yourself, like allowing a memory to play out without shutting it down, and allow it to pass. Thinking of a happy memory to counter the guilty one, something good that you've done. Remembering that you're learning and trying to be a better person. Give yourself room to grow. I know how it feels to sit in a pool of sweat and tears, shaking while your mind tries to grip you so tight you can hardly move. It's a terrifying and lonely feeling, but try to remind yourself, in these times, you are trying and willing to stop using. You're already doing better than you were. And remember that a relapse does not mean you have to start over. You're starting from experience. The counting of days may feel good and help you set goals, but remember that a content life isn't how many days you've been alive, but how much you've enjoyed or proud of. Remember that you're not broken beyond repair. You are learning. I hope this helps you in some way, and if it does, then please check out the rest of this series as it's coming out. I'll be taking a deep dive into how I was able to get and stay sober, and maybe if conventional methods haven't been working for you, this just might. Thanks for watching, and remember that the past can be the fuel you need for a brighter future.